On everybody, Vince Goodrum here. It is Thursday afternoon. Once again, just sitting out in the car, having myself a little lunch. Just want to go over a couple things with you today. Now, yesterday I did discuss Phil Heath and his advice on correcting his pot belly and getting back on stage. But not much has been talked about Kai Greene as far as him going back and competing. And I just wanted to shed a little information as well as my advice for Kai Greene, because even though Kai Greene was the runner-up in a number of Mr. Olympias as well as won a ton of Arnold Classics, there's a couple of things that he needs to do as well if he wishes to compete. Now, normally I wouldn't recommend for someone to do a show before the Mr. Olympia and just get prepared for an entire year. But in Kai Greene's case, because since he hasn't competed since the Arnold Classic in 2016, it's been an entire 2 years. So what I would do is, he can do an Arnold Classic show, which I wouldn't recommend. I would probably recommend him doing the earliest Grand Prix show, just in order to work the kinks out of his body there. Because here's the thing. Whenever someone takes a extended period of time away from competing, even though they're still doing all the training, a lot of times, one of the first things that I noticed that bodybuilders do, and Dennis Wolf did the same thing, is simply over diet. And I think what'll happen is the first competition that Kai Greene does, he's going to likely over diet and come in a little bit too small. That's why he needs to get this warm-up show, get the kinks out first prior to stepping back on stage. And at that point in time, he'll be in a position to where, once he gets the kinks out, he'll stand a good chance of possibly winning the Mr. Olympia. Now, as far as some people may be concerned about him doing poorly at a Grand Prix show and reflecting it on stage at the Mr. Olympia, I have to digress, because remember, a number of former Mr. Olympias, Dexter, Ronnie Coleman, they missed their placings at the show prior to winning the Mr. Olympia. So it really doesn't matter what shows you have done. It only matters on the actual day of the event, because the judges at the end of the day are going to pick the best physique. But in terms of Kai Greene, in my opinion, he needs to do a warm-up show. Get the kinks out there. That's only if he's intending on competing again. And I believe that he will. The reason being is now that Phil Heath is no longer in the way and Sean Roden is the new Mr. Olympia, the ground is marked there. I mean, the smell of blood is in the air right now, to where anyone can actually take that title. They may not be, and Sean Roden, as good as he is, he's still in his 40s there, much like a lot of these athletes here. So he is vulnerable to get beaten there. So Kai Greene does have a good chance, but I think he just needs to, I think he just needs to do a warm-up show first, probably a Grand Prix show. He can even do an Arnold Classic there event, Arnold Classic Europe or so forth, and, get the kinks out of the system in order to have his best presentation at the Mr. Olympia. But that's all I got to say today. I know it's been a slow day, and by the way, I am aware of Grizzly Jr.'s comments, which I will address this weekend. But you guys have a good rest of the day and take care.